There is potentially very good or maybe very bad news, depending on how it is actually handled, from Konami. Konami is definitely not in the good graces of a lot of people after the entire Hideo Kojima situation surrounding MGS5, and Metal Gear in general is the topic of today's video. I found myself getting, very much back into these games. I've always been a fan of them, but I've been playing through them again recently and really loving them. I'm also going to be putting some of those Let's Plays over on my Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays, and there is a lot of hype and excitement at the very least around the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection coming out in just a couple of months from when this is recorded. There's a lot of skepticism around Metal Gear Solid Delta with the whole Snake Eater remake and the lack of Hideo Kojima involvement. It's something I'm going to talk about in a future video on whether or not this series can work without Kojima and actually be good. But today we're taking a look at a Konami announcement as the Metal Gear games have achieved the sales of over 60 million copies now worldwide. Now this might sound like a ton, but I will kind of put that in comparison. If you look at the physical sales for Skyrim across all platforms, this means that the entire Metal Gear franchise has now sold what Skyrim sold. And now I'm not bringing up that comparison to diminish, the accomplishment of this. What I'm saying is this is a lot of sales. It is spread out over multiple games, over multiple generations, but this still does make the Metal Gear franchise extremely popular. It is something that really does resonate with the people who actually give it a chance and play it. I know a lot of people don't, which I think they're missing out, but unfortunately that it is what it is. People have their own taste. It's interesting because Konami did announce this very recently, and this could be a very good thing or a very bad thing, because the last Metal Gear game was 2018's Metal Gear Survive, which does, it's such a conflicting game. It's definitely not really like a great Metal Gear game. I think on its own, the game is fine. It is playing in the Fox engine. Honestly, playing around in the Fox engine, doing survival stuff is just fun in general. And this is also why my video on whether or not these games can work without Kojima is kind of a complicated thing that I haven't released yet. It's why it might not come out for a few weeks still, is because it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes you get games like Survive. If it didn't have Metal Gear in the title, I think people would have been a lot more charitable to it. Has a lot of problems. The Fox engine is fun. Some survival elements are fun. But overall, it's an example of Metal Gear not really working without Hideo Kojima. Then you also have games like Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, or even Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Very little, if any, Kojima involvement, basically just as a figurehead, and the games came out and, in my opinion, are pretty fun. So it really kind of depends when that question is asked, which is probably the key question at the forefront of people's minds when things like the Master Collection and Metal Gear Solid Delta are coming out. And the whole point that I'm getting at with this is that that's why this could be very good or very bad news. Konami is very obviously taking a look back at the Metal Gear franchise, and they are seeing something that sold very well. They are seeing something that did very well for them, and they are reportedly trying to get back into console and PC gaming, and not just into licensing their products as pachinko machines. So why could this be good news? Well, if the series is in talented and capable hands without a ton of, I should say, mismanagement and executive oversight, because that's usually what ruins products, what kills them, is when the businessmen at the top of the company shove their hands into it and wreck the product. If that is not happening, and good people are selected to continue the franchise, there is a strong possibility that more Metal Gear games could be made, considering that this sales number is coming up. There's a strong possibility that we will get the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, which was already kind of leaked in the metadata for the Master Collection site, with possibly seeing games like Metal Gear Solid 4 reappear on modern hardware. And there's the possibility that we could get these good Metal Gear games again. We could get the Portable Ops, or the Rising: Revengeance, or even games that are a little underrated like Ghost Babel. Games like that didn't necessarily have anything to do with Kojima for the most part, could actually be made, theoretically, and be fun and be good experiences that add to the overall world of Metal Gear. But The problem of, again, why that is such a complicated topic and why I haven't made a dedicated video on it yet is because you also have the bad examples. You have things like Survive. You have things like Metal Gear on the NES, which is just kind of something else. You have things like Snake's Revenge. There are games in the Metal Gear franchise that have come out without the involvement of, I should say, its pioneer creator, that have been very not amazing. And so it kind of comes down to an issue here of what is Konami looking to do with this franchise? What are they actually looking to do? I think if they're just looking to remake the main old games with the same exact audio data, they're basically taking those voices and they are just bringing the voice lines right back over, not re-recording anything, nothing like that, which is what they're doing with Delta, supposedly. They're just taking the old voices, putting them in the game, and they're expanding the gameplay mechanics. If they're doing things like that, this could be a very good thing for fans. If they're doing things like the Master Collections, and they're good, okay? Effort is put into them. This is not a Silent Hill HD collection, throw Comic Sans font over things situation. Let's say it's good. This is a great thing for fans, because it means that they're looking at this old sales data, they're saying, wow, this is selling really well, with even, I think, something like 700,000 copies of games selling just in the last year, even though nothing new has come out since 2018. And they're looking at that and saying, wow, this is doing good. We can do good things with it. We can bring the past up now to the future, up to these modern platforms. That's a great thing if it's good. But you also have the possibility of bad news with that. What if this is just a cash-in? What if those collections are not done well? What if they have a ton of glitches or a ton of problems? What if the whole remaking of Metal Gear Solid 3 is done more to push out a quick, buck than to actually do something good with it? I don't think that will be the case, but I'm saying hypothetically, if it was, that would be a situation where we'd have a bad version of this, the bad ending for the Metal Gear franchise, where they say, well, Survive failed, let's mark it off nostalgia, pump out some collections real quick. Oh, they sucked, well, we got our money. Oh, Metal Gear Solid Delta, it wasn't very good, we got our money. All right, now we're out of games again. The reason I don't think they're going to do that, though, is because of the bad reputation that has surrounded Konami for a while. There is actually, unlike what they believed at one time, a lot of money to be made in gaming. Not just mobile gaming, but console and PC gaming as well. These games are extremely popular, and when they are done well, whether it's by Kojima or someone else, they are very, very popular games that resonate with fans. They are things that people enjoy and love and sink hundreds of hours into. So overall, I'm not really entirely sure what to think about this, but I will say the reason that I have some hope is because in my research around these games, there are a lot of talented people surrounding the franchise that are still available for work and also are still at Konami, some of them too. However, there are a lot that aren't. The good thing is, a lot of their, I should say, HD collections or their collections of retro games that have been coming out, things like the Turtles Cowabunga collection, things like pretty much all of the Castlevania collections that have been coming out, those things have been done very well in recent years. There has been actual effort put into them. Those games have been brought to modern platforms with relatively few issues, and it's been a fun and exciting thing to be able to re-experience those games on modern hardware. In that way, I think that the series could be in safe hands, at least with the HD remasters, or maybe you should just say ports, because they're pretty much ports of the remasters from the PS3, etc., but it is a good sign. On the other hand, again, there's always the chance that this could go a bad direction. We'll just have to wait and see, but I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments down below about the direction of the series and about all of it. Also, I'm still working on my video and will be for a while about this series, about, if it can work without Kojima or not and what, the chances are of that. If you have any suggestions for things that you think I should talk about in that video, people you think that I should look into for that video, I would love to hear those in the comments below. The Metal Gear franchise is something that is accessible to everyone, but the history of it, its development, who was on board, who contributed what, those things are actually not super easy to figure out. A lot of that has a lot of depth and layers to it, and Japanese game development is not always the most transparent in terms of what happens behind the scenes. So if you're interested in helping me out with that, you can always let me know what you think in the comments down below or about the entire video. I appreciate you very much. I will be making more Metal Gear content going forward. It's not something I talk about every day, but it is one of my favorite series in the entire world. It resonates with me ever since I played MGS2 as a child and got my mind absolutely blown. So I love this series and I'm excited to talk more about it. If you're interested in helping support the channel, we do have a Patreon. We also have channel memberships where there is access to a wide variety of exclusive videos, emotes, and more. And also there is a lot of fun stuff with Degenerate Plays. We played through Metal Gear Solid 1 over on that channel. So I'm going to link that playlist in the description down below and also the channel. We also are going to be playing through Metal Gear 1 and 2, the originals, very soon, kind of leading up to the Master Collection. So big fan of this stuff. Very excited to see where it goes. Have a fantastic day. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you're interested in more content. And as always, everyone, stay shui.